This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.
Welcome in to the Main Street Preps High School Football Post-Game Recap Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, where fans don't let fans drive drunk. We've got some big news from this week. We've got reporters from across Middle Tennessee who are going to tell you exactly what happened this past weekend in high school football. So make sure to stick around and get all of the details right here on Main Street Preps. We're going to start down in southern Middle Tennessee. As we touch the Alabama border, we've got Giles County report from Wade Neely.
What's up, folks? Wade Neely here, sports editor for the Pulaski Citizen, contributor over at the Lawrence County Advocate. Time for a recap of a wild week one for all of our teams here in the southernmost part of the Main Street media universe. We begin in Fayetteville as the Richland Raiders, after a very hard-fought loss last year in their season opener. Didn't quite go their way as well in the 2024 edition as they fall on the road to 5A Lincoln County. 42-14 was your final score. It was the 1A Raiders versus the 5A Falcons. It was tied 7-7 early in the contest, but Lincoln County 21 points unanswered in the second quarter and really kind of put the game to bed. Richland scores late. Brett Dobbs had a big game rushing for the Falcons, and Huff and Sands, that's Austin Huff and Jake Sands, having big games for the Raiders there, but coming up just shy. Again, 42-14 was your final score there. Switching gears, let's move over to Loretto, and man, the Mustangs ran wild on the Collinwood Trojans. 35-0 was your final there. Mason Tidwell was on fire from the jump. He was 11 of 17 on the night for 328 yards, had 3 touchdowns, but it was Corbin Reynolds who really started the party. He got a touchdown on the second play from scrimmage, and honestly, Loretto never looked back. They cruise again 35-0 versus Collinwood. Big showdown coming up for Loretto this week. More on that in a moment. In the biggest game in Lawrence County, the Battle of the Buffalo Trophy is finally in possession now of the Summertown Eagles as they knock off rival Lawrence County 14-0. Crazy game. All the points coming in the first half as the Eagles put up 2 touchdowns early and then rely on 2 interceptions late to secure the victory. Jaden Stahl, with a early touchdown, 1 rushing and 1 throwing, finding Logan Love on the passing touchdown. And again, the 14 points would be all that Coach Winfrey's bunch needed as the Eagles pick up a 14-point advantage going into the second half. And in the second half, they turn to their defense. Lawrence County, Coach Marston's squad driving down the field, getting all the way to the goal line, right near the goal line, but 2 costly turnovers, 2 different interceptions, give Summertown the ball back, and ultimately, again, give that Battle of the Buffalo Trophy to the Eagles. I mentioned Summertown and Lawrence County, and I mentioned Loretto earlier. Lawrence County and Loretto will do battle this week, so it's another rivalry showdown over there in Lawrence County. More on that later this week on Main Street Media. Giles County versus Page. That was the final game in our immediate coverage area, and it did not go in favor of Giles County. Breaking in a brand new offense, they struggled, spoiler, versus a really, really solid Page defense as the 3A Bobcats fell on the road to the 5A Patriots. Some bright spots, though, for Giles County. If you listen to our broadcast on Pulaski Citizen Live, you heard us talk a lot about the services of the sophomore Xavier Randolph, who actually was pretty impressive in his first start at quarterback for Giles County. Had a couple of nice throws, including 3 completions on the very first drive, which was Giles County's best scoring opportunity. But unfortunately, they came up shy on 4th down, deep in Page territory, and that was eventually all that Page needed. It was 7-0 for the longest, however, as Pearson Collier, Page is lining up for a field goal. He blocks the field goal, and we were 1 bounce of the football away from Collier picking that up and scooping and scoring and tying the game at 7. But as it were, Giles County got the ball back, was forced to punt. Page marches down. They go up 14-0 just before halftime. And then in the second half, 2 scores put the game to bed early. As again, Giles County falls 28-0 to longtime rival Page as they continue to break in a new offense this season. Bonus shout out before we get out of here. How about the Ardmore Tigers? 55 points in their win versus Tanner on opening night south of the border. Congrats to Coach Jonathan Snyder and the Ardmore Tigers. Again, 55-7 as they knock off Tanner in their Week 1 contest. That's all we've got here. Again, a look at Giles County, Richland, Lawrence County, Loretto, and Summertown, and a bonus shout out for Ardmore. That's all we've got for here on the south end of Main Street Media Land. Wade Neely saying so long.
Now we go to Maurice Patton up in Murray County and South Williamson to talk a little bit about his area.
Hey, I'm Maurice Patton, sports editor at Main Street Murray. We got the high school football season off to a solid start down here with a couple of good wins, a couple of tough losses, and a rivalry matchup. We will start with the team that made the deepest run in the 23 postseason, getting started with a big victory on the road to avenge a couple of tough losses last year. Columbia Academy goes over to Middle Tennessee Christian. Monte Baldwin goes for 227 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Stephen Neves throws for 3 touchdowns, and the Bulldogs defeat Middle Tennessee Christian 42-20. Again, after losing to the Cougars by 2 in triple overtime to open last season and by a touchdown in the state semifinals to end last year. So big win for Columbia Academy on the road this past weekend. Also, Mount Pleasant Christians the new artificial turf at their place with a big 37-6 win over Wayne County. John Michael Wright throwing for 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 90-yarder to Jakiri McClure to get things started. Also a 68-yard touchdown pass from Wright to Carter Dunn, and Evan Plunkett with a 40-yard scoop and score for the Tigers in that win. Columbia Central goes on the road, throws 3 first-half interceptions, but is up on Marshall County at the break, but can't close things out, recovers an onside kick late, can't convert, and falls 25-22 to the Tigers, their 3rd season opening loss to Marshall County in as many seasons. Tough one there for the Lions. Independence taking on 2023 Class 6A state finalist Oakland, and it was as tough as that might sound. The Patriots getting a couple of big plays and winning that one 35-0. T.T. Hill with a couple of scores for the Patriots, a 3-yard touchdown run and a 77-yard catch. Also Craig Tutt with a couple of touchdowns, including a 66-yarder for the Patriots. Independence got into the red zone twice, missed a couple of field goals. So tough go there for the Eagles in their first win of the year under a new sophomore quarterback in Matthew Horner. Also, finally, Summit and Spring Hill lock horns up at Summit, and Summit gets 4 touchdowns and 346 rushing yards from its senior trio of Mason McElhaney, Braylon Thompson, and Dylan Pierce. McElhaney rushes for a couple from the quarterback spot. Dylan Pierce scores from 26 yards out to cap the scoring in the second half as Summit defeats Spring Hill 28-16. That'll do it for this week from Murray County area. See you next week.
Thanks, guys. All right, now we move over to the western half of the coverage area where in Dixon and Cheatham counties, we've got Casey Patrick.
Hi, how are y'all? My name is Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dixon Post. We're going to go over the Week 1 slate of football, starting with Creekwood and Dixon County. The Redhawks got the win over Dixon County, 28-14. This next week, Creekwood will host Lewis County. Dixon County's on the road at Columbia Central. Over on the Cheatham County side of things, Harpeth hosted White House Heritage last Friday. White House Heritage was able to get that win 41-25. Harpeth is hosting Cheatham County Central on Friday. Cheatham County Central lost to Lawson at Lawson on Friday, 27-22. The Cubs had the ball last second with a chance to win at the 5-yard line, but came up just a little bit short. Of course, Cheatham County Central's on the road at Harpeth on Friday night. That's where I'll be. And our final game of the week, Kirkwood defeated Sycamore 41-6. The War Eagles will be on the road at Lawson on Friday, and that's our full Week 1 slate of football. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Casey. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more recaps from around Middle Tennessee and high school football on the Main Street Preps High School Football Recap Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Welcome back in, folks, to the Main Street Preps High School Football Recap Show. I'm Chris Yao. We're brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office each and every week. Remember, folks, fans don't let fans drive drunk. More recaps now as we head up to Clarksville and Houston County, where Calvin White has a report.
Hello everyone, this is Calvin White, sports editor with Main Street Clarksville. High school football got started this past week in Montgomery County, and I'm going to do my best to walk you through some of those scores from this past week. We're going to start with Clarksville and Montgomery Central. Clarksville beat first-year head coach Wyatt Page's Indians 35-3. Montgomery Central was hanging tough with Clarksville in the first half. Clarksville only led 14-3 at the half, but then they outscored Montgomery Central 21-3 in the second half to win 35-3. Clarksville had four different players score a touchdown. Amari Galbraith and Jack Stein each scored one, and Avari Galbraith scored two. Clarksville looks to repeat as the best team in Region 7 6A. The Wildcats finished with a 10-0 perfect regular season last year, but lost in the first round of the playoffs. Head coach Isaac Shelby's Wildcats are on a redemption tour to repeat as the best team in Region 7 6A. Next, we're going to go to Rossview and Wilson Central. Rossview went on the road to Wilson Central, trailed 14-0 at halftime, but Rossview outscored Wilson Central 22-0 in the second half to win 22-14. Kirkwood beat Sycamore 41-6. Kirkwood, in its second year as a program, went 5-5 last season, barely missed out on the TSSAA playoffs. Destroy Kirkwood 41-6. Second-year head coach Chad Watson has Kirkwood in a good spot to be up there with the Clarksvilles and the Rossviews in their region to compete for that region title. Northeast went on the road at Green Hill, lost 41-7 to the Hawks. Clarksville Academy went on the road at Friendship Christian. Friendship Christian led 40-0 at halftime, but Clarksville Academy scored 7 points in the second half. Friendship Christian won that one 46-7. Northwest, under first-year head coach Mark Hall, went on the road to Fort Campbell and won 35-16. West Creek hosted Laverne and avenged last season's season-opening loss to Laverne. First-year head coach Michael Booker's Coyotes won 13-8 to get off to a 1-0 start. And then Franklin Road Academy upended Kenwood 44-13. This is Calvin White with Main Street Clarksville. I'll talk to you again next week.
We move now to David Wilson in Robertson County. David, take it away.
Hey everyone, this is David Wilson, sports reporter for the Robertson County Connection, here to give you a quick recap of all the Week 1 action across the Robertson County area. There were 7 teams in action this week. Robertson County teams went 4-3 through the first week of play. We kick things off on Thursday night, Portland traveling to face White House, and it was Portland going on the road and squeaking out a 1-point win over the Blue Devils. White House jumped out to a 14-0 lead after 2 touchdowns on their first 4 offensive plays. Michael Alvin with a 68-yard run, and first-year quarterback Easton Biggs connecting with Reed Aguilar on the first possession of the game on a 68-yard touchdown pass. But it was Portland coming back in that one and pulling the win on the road for Hunter Hicks, his 3rd win at Portland over the last 3 years. So good for Portland going on the road and beating White House. We moved on Friday. It was the Battle of the Pitt Carroll Trophy, and it was Springfield for the 11th straight year, pulling a victory over Greenbrier. They shut out the Bobcats 34-0. 2 rushing touchdowns by junior running back Jaden Hurst, senior running back Keenan Chapman coming back from his knee injury last year that ended his entire year. He never took a snap. I got a first quarter touchdown as well on the goal line touch. So Yellow Jackets looked really good defensively. They intercepted first-year quarterback for Greenbrier, Kyler Slate, twice. Cameron Cobbins took one of those 65 yards for a touchdown as Springfield rolled this week against Greenbrier. Out to Cross Plains, East Robertson kicked off their journey trying to get back to the Class 2A title game with a 30-0 win over Liberty Creek. Some sad news out there, though. Isaiah Groves went down in the first drive of the game with a knee injury. He is getting MRIs on that leg. He did not return to the game for the rest of the time for the Indians. But Casey Young had a really good performance at the quarterback position. He was 10 of 14 for 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hooked up with Cade Brooks on one of those receptions. He finished the night with 4 receptions for 102 yards. And Xavion Groves had 2 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown. Defensive lineman Zach Groves, who is a 4-star, has got a boatload of offers over the last few months. He had 7 tackles on that defensive line for defensive coordinator Alvin Fight and 4 tackles for loss and 1 quarterback hurry. Out to Cheatham County, White House Heritage went on the road to face Harpeth. They came out with a 41-25 victory. Sophomore quarterback Xavier Murray, who was our offensive player of the year last year in Robertson County, 14 of 16 passing for 245 yards. 4 touchdown passes, and 2 of those went to Dason Springer, who finished the night with 5 receptions for 96 yards. Also had a punt return for a touchdown and 7 tackles. So Dason Springer all over the field for the Patriots on Friday night as they get their first win of the year. Out for Joe Burns, they went on the road to face McEwen. They were leading by 12 with 11:33 left in that ball game, but McEwen comes back and defeats the Red Devils 27-26. Joe Burns' offense looked really good in this one. Luke Miller, the junior quarterback for the Red Devils, had 2 touchdown passes. One, a 41-yard pass to Clay Woody. Another on the goal line, a 3-yard pass to Trace Bradley. Amari Cotton looked really good. He was the Region 4-1A back of the year last year. Had a long touchdown run that spanned about 68 yards and also had a touchdown pass as well to Woody that spanned over 60 yards. So Joe Burns going back home this week with a loss. Probably a game they should have won. Disappointing on their end. Just needed to finish some football games. And finish in fourth quarter is kind of a theme that they struggled with last year. And then finally, Innovation Academy had their first game as a TLSLA program. They lost to Kip Memphis Collegiate 28-22. So the Phoenix coming up from Shelby County and getting a victory over the Seminoles. First-year quarterback Ali Sanganez, who used to be the kicker at Springfield, had 2 rushing touchdowns for IA, and Matthew Stewart, who is a junior, rushed for over 100 yards. But they fall short in their quest for their first win of the year and their first win as a football program overall. So that'll do it here in Robertson County. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week.
All right. Blaine Kellar now tells us a little bit about what's going on in Sumner County.
I'm sports editor Blaine Kellar, and this is the first edition of the 2024 Sumner County Football Snapshot, where we take a look at every game that happened within our area, try to break them down as best we can. Sumner County had 6 season opening games spread out across 3 days, starting Thursday and ending Saturday. We had coverage of 4 of them, and here we go in trying to wrap up all 6. Portland picked up a 21-20 win over White House after falling behind 14-0 in the first quarter Thursday night. Coach Hunter Hicks and the Portland defense gave up a couple of 68-yard touchdowns to the Blue Devils in that first frame, but got rushing scores from Gentry House, Keelan Dalton, and Sean Sebring as part of their comeback that gave them the lead in the fourth quarter, one that they didn't let go. And it'd be remiss to not mention 3 made extra points that kind of made the difference for Portland there. Avery Hughes, an offensive lineman that transitioned to tight end for the Panthers over the offseason. He did a good job blocking in that rushing attack, but also shined defensively with 4 sacks and a tackle for loss, including the game-sealing sack on Easton Biggs as White House drove on its final possession, trying to tie or take the lead in the final minute. Speaking of comebacks and rivalries, Hendersonville picked up a 19-16 decision at home against Gallatin on Friday night. That's their 6th straight rivalry win in this series between the Commandos and the Green Wave. Cooper Jordan rushed for 3 touchdowns for an offense that started played 2 quarterbacks, and Caleb Sams, the starter, and Christopher Jordan, a sophomore, that filled in late as Sams went out with an injury. The defense picked off second-year quarterback Jackson Straub twice and limited him to just 2 completions in the first half, but Gallatin got a 51-yard field goal from South Carolina commitment Max Kelly, and then rushing touchdown from Cage Johnson at the end of the third quarter, and then a passing touchdown from Straub to Jeremiah Williams in the fourth that really made this one interesting in the closing moments. I mentioned Sams and Jordan, Christopher Jordan, that is, a couple of new faces on that offense that made a difference with Cooper Jordan's big plays. The defense got a forced fumble from Cooper Jordan's twin brother Riley and a fumble recovery from Michael Walker in the final drive. Those being 2 kind of newer contributors to that defense that helped Hendersonville pass its first test after graduating a big chunk of production from last season. Beach scored 38 of the last 41 points and scored 3 times in the final 8 minutes Friday at Station Camp for a 38-17 win. Shelton Swafford had a couple of rushing touchdowns. DK Williams did a good job as his handcuff at running back, and Caden Powell had a 7-yard passing touchdown to Power 5 prospect Kawan Harris. It was a game and moments that allowed Beach to break it open against the Station Camp team that really shocked with a 14-0 lead right out of the gate, and in the fourth managed to hold its own and have it tied at 17 at one point. JP2 threatened at reigning Class 3A runner-up East Nashville as part of a 39-31 loss. Quarterback Hudson Holman had 3 passing touchdowns and over 190 yards passing. New running back Bo Bailey also had a near 100-yard rushing game with a score. In other games that happened around the area, East Robertson blanked Liberty Creek in Cross Plains 30-0 on Friday. And in a second straight Saturday season opener, Westmoreland traveled to Macon County and fell 31-7. This is Blaine Kellar, Sumner County Sports Editor, giving you your area football snapshot. We'll see you back here next week.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more recaps from around Middle Tennessee and high school football on the Main Street Preps High School Football Recap Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
He shoots, and he scores!
We'll move now to our favorite audio-only report each and every week, brought to you by Tommy Bryan of the Wilson Post.
Everybody, this is Tommy Bryan, sports editor of the Wilson Post in Lebanon, and here's a look at the high school football action from the opening week of the TSSAA season. Antioch defeated Lebanon 34-22 as the Bears rallied from a 15-0 first quarter hole. Sophomore Andre Adams threw for 242 yards and 4 touchdowns in a game that was marred by 34 accepted penalties. Senior transfer Deuce Edwards accounted for 197 all-purpose yards for Lebanon and scored twice. Friendship Christian handled Clarksville Academy with ease, 46-7, as converted lineman Carlando Barton ran for 4 touchdowns. The Rockets of Forest High School held off Watertown 40-34 in Chapel Hill as the Purple Tigers scored 21 points in the final 12 minutes of regulation. Green Hill breezed to a 41-7 home win over Northeast High as junior quarterback Cannon Burrows completed 7 of 8 for 121 yards and a touchdown. He also led the Hawks with 82 yards rushing and a score. Mount Juliet piled up points early and often in a 50-0 road win over Cane Ridge. Senior quarterback Tyler Travers threw for 192 yards and 4 touchdowns on a 9 of 12 passing effort. Linebacker Noah Anderson paced the Bears with 10 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback sacks. Down 14-0 at intermission, Rossview rallied for a 22-14 victory at Wilson Central on Friday. Rossview's Chris Johnson ran for 76 yards on 12 carries, and he scored the eventual game-winning touchdown with 1 minute and 11 seconds left in regulation. And finally, in a game that was played on Thursday of last week, Mount Juliet Christian Academy defeated Republic Charter 31-12 at Ed Suey Field. K.K. Curtis led the Saints with 63 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. That's a look at high school football from the opening week of the season in Wilson County. I'm Tommy Bryan, and I will talk to you later.
And of course, we cannot forget Monty Hale Jr., who brings us the weekly Rutherford County report.
Hello, this is Monty Hale Jr., sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post, and week 1 is in the books. So let's look back at last Thursday and Friday night's action. We'll start on Friday night. Oakland, the defending Class 6A runner-up, they went to Independence and won 35-0. Unfortunately, one of their star players, DeJuan Morris, suffered a sprained ankle on the second play of the game. He was a Mr. Football finalist last year. He's a USC commitment, but others picked up the slack. T.T. Hill, remember that name this year. He played for the Patriots as a sophomore, had a very good year, and then went to Brentwood Academy, and now he's back at Oakland. Well, he responded with a touchdown run and then called a pass and went 77 yards for a touchdown. Craig Tutt, name you're going to be hearing a lot of. He's just a junior, but he's receiving college offers everywhere. He's on offense, he's on defense, he's on special teams. He had 90 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns on just 5 carries. Kyler Creasy, the Patriots quarterback, 7 of 9 for 155 yards and 2 scores. Defensively, probably the best linebacker in the county, Caleb Ellison, with 9 tackles, 1 for a loss, and a forced fumble. And defensive back Kyrie Gaynor with 2 interceptions. So a fast start for the Patriots. Again, they win 35-0. Riverdale 24, Smyrna 14. This was anybody's game late. Riverdale clung to a 17-14 lead. They were trying to run out the clock. They did more than that. DJ Taylor went 58 yards, and Riverdale put the game away 24-14. Nolensville 24-21. Heartbreak for Rockvale. They were down 21-13. Scored late in the fourth quarter. Went for 2. Got it. So we're tied at 21. Unfortunately, Nolensville was able to maneuver the ball downfield and kick the field goal almost as time expired. Stewart's Creek 33, Tullahoma 22. This was kind of back and forth early, but Stewart's Creek, a devastating ground game. They had 231 yards on the ground and really just kind of imposed their will in the second half. So the Creek gets off to a great start. Brentwood 24, Blackman 14. What might have been for Blackman. They were up 7-3 at the half. They did what they wanted to open the second half. Went up 14-3, but then something happened. They kind of took a siesta, and Brentwood, a state semifinalist last year, scored 3 unanswered touchdowns in the third quarter. There was no score in the fourth, and the Blackman Blaze fall 24-14 on the road to Brentwood. Columbia Academy 42, Middle Tennessee Christian 20. Briggs Boyd had 75 yards rushing, the quarterback for MTCS, but this was a rematch of 2 games last year in which MTCS won both in very close contests en route to winning their first ever state championship. However, MTCS has lost a lot of players, probably 60 to 70% freshmen and sophomores on their roster this year. On Thursday night, it was West Creek 13, Laverne 8, almost a mirror image of last year's game in which Laverne won 9-7. Laverne is utilizing the triple option. That did not have much success. Played good defense, in high school football or really any football now. You give up 13 points, you feel like you should win, but the Wolverine offense didn't get anything going. We'll see what they can do this week. And finally, Shelbyville 34, Siegel 22. Drew Hostetler had 4 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown for Siegel, but boy, it was all Robert Bailey at Shelbyville, over 300 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. So the future MTSU player had a big part in that game, and we talked that would be a key, would be slowing him down. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do that. Okay, that's a recap of last week. Again, I'm Monty Hale, sports editor of the Murfreesboro Post.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us here on the Main Street Preps High School Football Recap Show. Once again, I'm Chris Yao. We are always brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Don't forget to make sure to download the Main Street Media Television app. You can do that on your Apple, Roku, Android, or even Amazon Fire Stick device. We've got weekly shows from across Middle Tennessee in high school football, so your area is most likely covered. Make sure to tune in. Until next week, I'm Chris Yao saying have a great day.
This is the Main Street Preps High School Football Wrap-Up Show, brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.